Oh, hello, Bill.
Hey, David, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm back on the road.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Bangkok.
I'm going to Bangkok too.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're all
What are you going to do in Bangkok?
Because Bangkok is back.
Bangkok's back. What about the backpack?
Well, you know, I'm just after COVID, I've become Metro Man.
Metro Man or Metro Person?
Metro Person,
PC,
excuse me.
David. What's happening today?
Okay, we've got Jesper Palmquist. He's Area Director of Asia Pacific for STR.
Data Person online.
Markland Blakelock, and he is the Deputy CEO of Centauro Hotels and Resorts.
Hotel Operator.
Sunny Bajaj, and he is the MD of Ambarai Hotels.
A hotel owner.
Noparat Ampa, SAVP, General Manager, Banyan Tree Bangkok.
Talking bars and restaurants in hotels.
Excellent. Right. Gillian Donahue is the General Manager of Le Meridian Bangkok.
And Killian's talking about people, all right? People power. Power to the people.
Power to the people. Rohit Sachdev, he's up next, and he's the CEO of Soho Hospitality.
The Restaurateur. Great lineup.
Great lineup. Okay.
Let's get going. Who's on?
Let's get going.
Who's on first?
Jesper, you're first. Jesper, over to you.
Well, hello, Bill and Ted. What an excellent adventure so far. Thanks so much. This is Jesper Palmquist from STR here in Singapore. Now, if you look across a spaghetti chart like this, you can see that there's a lot of variation still. This is the last 45 days. So Bangkok and Thailand is not alone in seeing a huge diversity. And you'll also see, of course, that many markets have these weekend getaways like Thailand has with Ha Hin. It's also true that in terms of occupancy, we know that Thailand remains very low comparatively across the region. The difference between 27 and 22 there is, of course, that Thailand still has rooms that are closed. So this is the occupancy when you include all the closed rooms. So there's a gap there. But when it comes to the rate, so the average daily rate or ADR, the levels here that are low are considered, if you omit then Singapore, which is funded by government and paying less for the quarantine hotels, around 60, 65. So ADR has held up better through the pandemic, of course. And it's also, if you drill down to Bangkok, you can see it's somewhere in the middle. Markets like Seoul, Beijing, Jakarta are very close to rate levels from 2019, year to date in the first 3 quarters of this year. But below Bangkok, you still have markets, obviously, again, the Singapore example, but Hong Kong and Tokyo are still below much more than Bangkok when it comes to reaching the rates of 2019. But at the flip side, of course, is that occupancy, that's where these heavily restricted markets that have seen many different challenges like Kuala Lumpur and Tokyo and Bangkok is really at the bottom on a year-to-date scale until end of September. So is there any profitability at all to talk of in Bangkok in 2021? Not really. Total RevPAR, 16% when you want to be at 100, right? To reach the index of 2019. And GOP per available room is even worse. And if you look at the graph here and study the light pink graph, you can see that that averages out to minus 31. Now it is gently striding upwards in the last few months, and hopefully that starts quite soon. One thing you should bear in mind, though, that when recovery happens, we've seen this over and over again, when it happens, it comes quickly. So I know it's a huge distance to get from down here up to 100 to 2019 levels of GOP par, but it's still massive shifts, goes very quickly across markets, not just in markets like China, where they have that zero tolerance and V-shaped recoveries. If we look across Thailand, of course, the drive-to markets of Hua Hin and Pattaya has continued throughout this year, in April there, and then in July and before the lockdowns again, seen that market go up, and is usually the Saturdays. Then, of course, helped recently in the last couple of months by holidays, driving it even over the 2019 levels for that particular day. That speaks again to the pent-up demand. We know that Bangkok sits down here in that dark purple line here and not really seen anything. And I suppose Phuket, it is notable. You remember what happened after the sandbox. It drove up from those 3-4% to 20 or 30 or even 35% on average. And that's obviously better than nothing. So it's driven by weekends totally still for the drive-to. The weekdays in Hua Hin, for instance, remains around 25 or 30%, so nothing massive there yet. So when you compare the two metrics to 2019, we have an ADR level that sits there around 65% or so of where you want it to be of 100. So an occupancy gently moving up. So it's interesting then to see which hotel classes in Bangkok has been most affected in this scenario and what to expect coming out of that. So this is luxury and down to up economy overall. And again, 100 means you're back at 2019 levels. Now let's zoom in because this is below 50, all of it. So change the graph. You can clearly then see that in 2021, from this starting point, it's luxury that struggled to keep up with the pace from 2019. And the other hotel classes move very similarly and sit up here around what that 30 mark. So it's lower in luxury from that sense. But then we switch to ADR, to the average daily rate, and it's the reverse, where economy throughout the entire crisis have seen lower rates compared to the other hotel classes and not been able to do that. So the takeaway there is in 21, luxury hotels are way more behind 2019 occupancy levels, and economy hotels are way more behind 2019 ADR levels. And if you combine that for RevPAR, you can see here on the big scale. So let's change that again and zoom in to 50%. And what you see, because demand and occupancy fell much more, and this is a demand crisis, it's luxury that remains behind 2019 levels the most because of that combination. The other markets are gently striding upwards there, but only marginally. We're not seeing a massive trend there yet. So what's ahead? If you look at occupancy on the books using Forward Star, what is in there? Well, you shouldn't be surprised to see or hear again that there isn't much. Two things to call out perhaps is that staycations, I suppose, these Saturday spikes that you see that happen across these, they're between 3, 4, 5 percentage points. So not a lot, but it is something to some hotels. And just like in Singapore and other markets, it's hitting some hotels more than others. It's not a broad impact on staycations. It's a few hotels that are getting that, particularly in the high-end hotels. And also the second point is, of course, how low it is after the new year. That speaks to the uncertainty. People are booked, they're ready to go to Thailand, but they're not yet ready to go and stay in the amazing city of Bangkok, at least not the international travel. They are looking to go to the islands, they're looking to go to the resorts, and potentially there as well, they don't know if they need to isolate, and therefore they will stay there rather than being in Bangkok. It's better to be at the resort. So they don't have that confidence yet. And we can see that in the pickup pace, because these numbers are very low. Apart from that first week when this was set at November 15th with some numbers in high single digits, after that is extremely low. There's no confidence in recent pickup in booking Bangkok just yet. We need this to work coming into peak season a little bit closer. But what about supply effects, how that affects the outlook as well? Well, we know that it will impact differently. Now, some markets will have more measure. And what I mean with that is that the volatile demand will beginning to spread across more hotels than before as new rooms open up in 22. So these are numbers of sample growth in rooms until end of next year compared to what's existing in market already. Vietnam, clearly a lot coming. And it can't be said across total Thailand with 7%, but Phuket definitely has more impact. We talked about in the past. And Bangkok at 6% increase, listen, it's not nothing. Anything will help and put pressure, and I say hope in a negative connotation, so it will put some additional pressure on the market, absolutely. And at the same time, you still miss a number of hotels that have yet to reopen. Thailand sits around 7% of hotels still closed. And we know that when that reopens, it can also take time, especially if they've been used for quarantine. So it may mean a competitive advantage if you weren't a quarantine hotels, because it takes time. Overall, the market number will be pulled down for a little longer before that normality comes back. But listen, we have a great scenario building because this is an important piece. Up to 70% almost by now with Thailand complete vaccination, a target that seems so far away and hard to reach. The vaccinations are getting across Asia Pacific. And why do I include the other markets? Well, they matter as well. If they have high vaccination rates, they are willing to travel to Thailand. They're willing to go there. So that's obviously a big, strong signal that we have high vaccination in the region. And Obviously, a lot of this we're hoping to come into Bangkok now is coming from Europe. And it isn't without concern. You look at the recent data coming out. They have fourth or fifth waves. They're looking at working from home again. But listen, the important thing may be that looks so far to address and be a situation within their countries and within Europe. They have high vaccination rates and still cases go, but mostly that's unvaccinated. So hopefully all those can still travel and get out, because the restrictions are really what's killing this. And as Thailand look to improve that and open up, that is happening around the region. For me, maybe the most interesting example is Cambodia, right? Vaccinated, if you're vaccinated, there's no quarantine and no test needed. That could set a huge precedence if that is successful in the area close to Thailand to learn from. In other news, Maldives continue to lead the world as the favorite high-end travel destination, also in what's on the books. Malaysia seeing strong growth in domestic travel across the country. Indonesia is building on its domestic increase, with Bali also hoping to see more than the 30% plus of domestic business, with first international arrivals as well. And Vietnam is hoping to build on its first international and controlled arrivals in Nha Trang and beyond. So it's looking hopeful for sure. So we're hoping that Thailand can now look and get some of that peak season to sell a few percentage points at least with that. And with that, obviously, be excellent to each other. I want to switch back to the dudes. And I love how they printed these amazing shirts to show who really is the hero and gets the job done up in Phuket. I'm not sure. It's Bill and Ted David there. Thank you very much indeed, and have a great rest of the day.
Oh, Jesper Palmqvist, Lieutenant Commander data person, right? Hats off to you guys. Singapore, Jesper, great data.
Excellent, excellent data. Right, next up we've got hotels, hotel operator Markland Blakelock. He's going to be talking about the opportunities and the challenges of operating hotels. Markland.
Thank you, Bill and David, and well done. This is another one of your great initiatives for focusing attention on Bangkok and Thailand since the reopening on the 1st of November. We are, of course, all really excited. The pandemic has been somewhat of a roller coaster, although not nearly as much fun. We were leading up to a good year-end last year, and then, of course, the second wave hit, and then things started picking up again, mostly on the domestic side. And just prior to Songkran, we were looking at a great Songkran holiday period, and then, of course, the third wave hit. So we're a little bit cautious in relation to this latest reopening, but also very enthusiastic and positive about how the outcomes can evolve. In terms of the guest experience, we're trying to make it as authentic as we possibly can. Of course, we have our Centara Complete Care in place, and having a strong focus on the safety protocols is very important. In fact, for the industry as a whole, I think the most important elements are, of course, ensuring that everyone is vaccinated. Thailand has made some great progress of late, and we're nearing that 70% threshold across the country. I think in Bangkok alone, it's close to 90% that have had both vaccinations, and that's great news. And the other factor is, we do need to maintain some level of safety protocol, especially as it relates to social distancing. But beyond that, we want to make the experience our guests have as authentic, as real, as enjoyable as it has been. And those are the reasons why guests are coming back to Thailand. They want to experience that. How have our staff been coping? Of course, it's been a horrendous 2 years. The opening of hotels, closing, reopening, staffing levels have been reduced. So now we're dependent on, we generally have minimum staffing levels in the hotels, and then a variable element that comes for the busier periods. But we're fortunate to have great staff that have been with us for many years, with great attitudes, people for whom offering traditional Thai hospitality comes naturally, and they have really responded to the challenges as they've come along, and we're really very, very proud of them, and really happy that now we're able to give them more work, and we see a light at the end of the tunnel. The test and go is just started in the 1st of November. Not surprisingly, there have been some issues for travelers coming in terms of organizing the Thailand pass, and efficiencies that weren't there as we would all like them to be on day one, but they're being improved. And I think as word of that gets out more generally, more people will see that it is in fact easy to do the applications and to come into the country. We still need to work on reducing some of the costs. PCR tests are still very expensive. Travel from the airport in a bubble car is a little bit expensive. So those costs have to come down. They're costs that weren't normally part of a package holiday in Thailand. So whatever can be done to do that, and whatever can be done to further reduce the restrictions that are in place. One of the key ones is of course bars. They're still closed in Bangkok until now mid-January. People come to Thailand to party, to have fun, and a lot of that happens socializing in nice spots, and hopefully with some restricted numbers in those areas, maintaining social distancing, the government will see fit to open that up. We in fact have a bar here in this hotel at Centara Grand Central World that was ready to open middle of last year, that we're not yet able to open it. It's called Coco XO, and it'll be a great place to relax and unwind, but still not available yet. Looking at the remainder of the year, we're as I mentioned earlier, cautiously optimistic. We're seeing booking levels increasing really positively in Phuket, finally, looking at the mid-80s right now, which should mean that for the peak period prior to Christmas through into the new year, we should be filling in Phuket. We have our Centara Reserve in Samui that was supposed to open in August. Of course, at that point with the lockdown, no ability to get there. We delayed the opening to the 1st of December, and there too we're seeing great pickup in the last half of the year, and really looking forward to welcoming our guests to that first venture in the luxury segment. In Bangkok too, things are picking up here. Most importantly, with the relaxation of some of the restrictions on the restaurants, where we are now able to serve wine, a great accompaniment to any meal. We've seen some very good pickup in the restaurants. So not only the rooms are benefiting, also the restaurants. It's a great ending, we hope, for this year, and hopefully a preparation for what lies in store next year. We're all, full of energy to receive increasing numbers of travelers from overseas, to also take care of our domestic travelers that have been supporting us more, and really looking forward to the new year. Thanks again.
They were back.
Excuse me.
Back to work here, right?
Thank you very much. Markland, thanks very much for your insights. Bill, who we got next?
We got Sunny Bajaj, the hotel owner. It might be the worst time in the world to be a hotel owner, but hey, it's always sunny in Bangkok. Sunny, over to you. Maybe it's time to move on to an owner's perspective. I'm with Sunny Bajaj, who's the managing director of Ambaraya. Sunny, owner perspective, is this the best time or the worst time to own hotels?
We're coming out of the worst time we've ever seen in the hotel industry, at least for Thailand, for sure.
So it's only upside.
We're starting to see some light, particularly in some segments, not all, and not the whole country immediately, obviously. But it is a move into the right direction, and you have to at least commend the Thai authorities for really opening up the country way before our neighbors. And I think it's a positive step in the right direction. It will still take time to start seeing numbers creep up. I think there are many issues there that we still have to deal with. A number of them, like flights, there's still not enough airlines coming in, making sure that we let go of semi-commercial requirements and going into full commercial again. Everyone's probably read that 80% of airlines have let go of their slots. I think that all needs to start being pushed back. Our biggest issue will be Thai International, not being able to fill up all their slots that they used to have.
Certainly. Airlift, right? It's all about
Airlift is and as it is, I think it'll be an uphill challenge to get numbers back up, and many other things have to align, and airlift is one of them for sure.
There's a lot of things about Mojo. Did anything really change November 1st?
Yes, absolutely. I think November 1st gives us all a little bit more hope that things will start improving. At this point, like for me in Bangkok right now, things have become worse because the good thing is COVID numbers are going down. One of my hotels are hospitals.
Right.
So that number has gone down. The other one's an ASQ, and that number has gone down as well. But we always knew that this transition period will be the hardest for us. And like I said, we are heading towards a full reopening and normalized travel eventually, I hope. So yes, while this period for us in the mid-scale will be a little bit more challenging, I'm understanding that the upscale hotels are already starting to see some traction.
Certainly.
So as long as upscale hotels start to see that traction, eventually it'll filter down to us.
You've had 18 months of the pandemic. How has your working relationship with your international operator changed?
Look, we are partners, and in the long run, hotel operators and us are still going to have to stay together and work together.
Better or worse, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there have been ups and downs, but overall, I think it's a partnership. We continue to work at each other. We're not always going to see eye to eye with everything, but it's something that we continue to work on, and we're going to come out of this together. How
do you view maintaining the assets? Some of these hotels have been not fully occupied for periods of time. How are you viewing CAPEX going forward, or FF&E? Funnily enough, I was always a strong believer in not closing my hotels. Besides the 3 to 4 months last year in 2020, where we were all forced to close our hotels, besides that, all my hotels have been open. Every single hotel during its period of, in these last 18, 19 months, I put CAPEX back into it as well. So I've been working on my hotels. Some people probably think that was probably a bad idea, but we have to believe in our business. Shutting down hotels will make them rot. Sure. And there's no way of coming back out of that other than putting on a lot of CAPEX. So keeping it open, keeping it running, keeping it maintained, and then putting some money back into it is just the perfect time to do it. Time will tell whether that was the right decision to make or not. But What about the attitude with the banks right now, lending institutions? It's been a tough road, certainly for 18 months. But the banks you're dealing with, how is that going? Just as you asked with the operators, banks are our partners in this as well. Without them, we're not going to be able to survive. At least most of us will not be able to survive. I've been fortunate that I've had some decent bankers out there who have supported me through this. We've received soft loans, we've received deferrals of interest, principal payments, like a lot of us have. But there's more that needs to be done. And I think every single owner will have their own challenges. Just like us, we are continuously working with the banks and trying to get out of this, stronger than we came into it. Maybe hopefully. Quickly as we're winding up today, 2022. Yeah. Any crystal ball, or what are you looking forward as a hotel owner really saying? Look, there is no crystal ball here, and really, I don't think anyone knows what next year is going to be like. I'm not very optimistic in the first 6 months of the year, but the second half, we do believe that we will start to see a much more serious traction. Okay. Great owner's perspective. Sunny Bajaj, thank you for joining us today. Bangkok is back, and we'll be seeing you in Bangkok. Look forward to it. Thank you. Just give me my bag back.
So I'm looking for mine.
Hey, we're back. Bangkok is back, and that was a great session with Sunny Bajaj as well, right?
Thank you, Sunny. Next up, we've got Noprat Ampa, who is from Banyan Tree, Bangkok.
Are we talking about the minibar? David.
Talking about the minibar?
I usually see you at the 7-Eleven.
No, I don't think you ever see me at the 7-Eleven with a plastic bag or anything. No. But that's just going to be one of the things that we're going to be talking about in her session.
Next up, Kun Gai.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, my name is Noprat Ampa, so I am the General Manager and Senior Assistant Vice President of Banyan Tree Hotel and Resort. So Very glad to be here, and thank you very much for asking this question. I think that since 1st of November, our hotel is doing very well. Not just only that the domestic market, which is we have a lot of guests from staycation. Restaurant is super popular now. We are like doing very well every weekend. However, with this first of Thailand visit, we found out that a lot of booking coming from overseas. So far, we doing very well and also have inquiry all the time. Our guests is have expectation of safety, so which is our priority also. All our staff had been like vaccinated for 2 doses, and then we are CHA Plus already. Besides the CHA Plus, we also like have standard international by our brand, which is plus to the Bureau Veritas. Safe sanctuary is a priority, and when the guests coming, the guest will be checked seen at the airport by escort to the limousine separately. They will go directly to check upon arrival by RT-PCR test, and our B&H hospital is our business, our partner. So then they will be checked by the nurse of B&H hospital. After that, the guests will be stay in the room for 24 hours. When they got the result of their check already, they can go out. I think that it's perfect for this concept. So far, I think that our business, both domestic and also then overseas, will be good result for November and December. After COVID-19, our hotel takes it as an opportunity. We have a kind of re-engineering. We look into all the processing and improve it another level. Also, we have a chance to create a lot of superstar in our brand. Our staff learn, our associates take a chance to learn our standard, learn to a program of multitask, learn about do the new thing that they never do. I think that so far I have to say that our B&B Bangkok have very good morale. Even though like at the beginning it might be tough for them, they feel like that. Wow, example. The front office staff, they have to learn about that food and beverage. Our food and beverage from each outlet, they learn to work in another outlet. So I think that so far now we work very strong like teamwork and also synergize. You know, right, that for Western people, dining starts quite late. Asian people might start early, but for like Western people, 8 p.m. they just start their dinner. And of course, 1 hour is too short for them for selling this alcohol. I think it's necessary that we should reconsider to extend like until midnight. And especially this is a festive season. Everyone come to Thailand, they have high expectation that Thailand is about foodie, happiness and celebration. And if this festive, we still close like our bar, our restaurant very early, they will feel like it's missing something. So I do believe that all their industry, like tourism industry, expect this extension hours also. For B&B Bangkok, then now all our restaurant is reopened. Our vertical rooftop still popular as usual, and then we also have Saffron Cruise, which is I can see that the demand, people really want to be relaxed and experience a new thing. All right, look forward to welcome everyone to our hotels. We have to have social distancing. It impact us because example like indoor, the new policy, it might reduce our customer. Example like normally capacity is 100%. We might have to reduce to be only 50%, which is that you know that the food cost is very high, right? In that case, then I think that menu engineering is gonna be like impact each of a business unit have to thinking about it. Restaurant or outlet have to be thinking about it. That how you gonna balance the high standard of the service and food quality with the amounts of capacity that reduced, and well, it's quite a big challenge for us also. Even though the outdoor, they said that they allow for 75%, but it's also impact. I think that it's something that hotel industry is very, very concerned. Like our hotel, most of the revenue, more than 50%, it comes from food and beverage. It's also something it's sensitive, and we look into it so much. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Oh, nice backpack, by the way. Suits you.
Oh, thank you.
Metro bill.
Well, actually, it's BYO, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it just came from the 7-Eleven as well.
Oh, dear.
It's tough in food and beverage, right?
It's definitely tough in food and beverage. Guy, thank you so much for that. Who have we got next?
Yeah, Killian Donahue, who's GM of the Le Meridien Bangkok, and he's talking to a staff member because you got to know here with the crisis, it's people, not products. And how are staff coming back and working in hotels? What's the opportunities they're facing? What are the challenges? It's a whole new game out there, but again, for hotels, power to the people.
Excellent. Killian.
Hi guys, thanks for having us, David and Bill. Great to be here. I'm Killian, I'm the GM at the Le Meridien Bangkok. And what a time the last months and years were, right? So the past 14 months, we've been operating as AQ Hotel. And we just farewelled our last guest, end of October. So now, right now, as we sit here, we're actually in the process, together with the support of our owners, Asset World Corporation and Marriott, to completely revamp the hotel. And we're actually gearing up to welcome guests back on December 10th. So how timely it is to chat to you guys. And today I actually brought one of our team members with me, Kunwan.
Hi guys, my name is Wan, the duty manager at Le Meridien Bangkok. Nice to see you.
Yeah, so Kunwan is the duty manager here, and I thought before I, as a GM, tell you all the stories on how things have been and how we feel about it, I think it's a better way to ask actually Kunwan directly what she feels. So, Kunwan, what do you feel? Like, how has your job been affected? Like, you know, in the AQ environment, and how was that different to the time before when you were working here?
Okay, honestly, first of all, I would say that it's changed a lot from my normal operation. Not only the operation tasks have changed, but also like I need to look into more about creating emotional connection with the guests as well. That is very important, you know, because it's not in the normal operation or normal situation where when we have when we have the AQ operation, and then the guests need to lock themselves in the room and with many regulations that is unusual. So it was very challenging. My operation tasks changed, for example, how I welcome the guests. Right. How I handle the tasks connected to the guests without seeing them. Yeah. And then like we need to understand the guests more in terms of the feeling, and we need to make the guests feel more at home, as comfortable as possible as well during the
I remember
stay.
that was a really big change, right? Because like in hospitality, as hoteliers, we love to talk to people, we love to be with people, we love to be amongst each other, but all of a sudden everyone was separated, right? So you talked about how to create like this emotional or personal connection to people, right?
That was very challenging for us, but in time we could, you know, like we may have many adaptations on our work, but in time we could achieve this success together. And in terms of the understanding as well to my team and my concerned departments, because we could talk more, understand each other more, and be supportive to each other more during this hard time as well.
So there is actually nice things that came out of this, right?
Right.
You know, now looking forward, so we're obviously planning to reopen the hotel on December 10th, right? With all new rooms and all this. But what do you think will be the guest experience now? You know, with the test and go, Sha Plus, and you know, all the other things that guests will experience.
Right. To welcome an international Sha Plus guest, starting from 10th of December, right? And I think like regularly the regulations slightly differ from the AQ or ASQ operations. We will have the private limousine taking the guests from the airport and then taking them to the B&H for a drive-through PCR test at the B&H, and then get back the guests to the hotel. Then we will have the fast track from the check-in to the guests.
And then they go up into the room,
right.
And then I guess once they have the test, they can basically go out and explore Bangkok.
Correct. Right.
Okay. Actually, I hope they will stay a bit longer than just one night because I think, you know, with the new pool area and the new restaurants and a lot of outdoor spaces, I hope guests will really enjoy their time here, right?
Right, one day might not be enough for them as well.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's actually, you know, it's not going to be all that hard, right? To only be in the room for one day and then ready to finally explore Bangkok again, right?
Right, I agree with you.
Let's see how it goes, but it's definitely exciting. What in general, like, what do you feel? How has your job changed through COVID-19? And, you know, are you worried with people coming back from overseas, international travelers? What do you feel?
At the beginning, when the COVID started, I was very nervous about this because this was a big challenging for us as well, like how we can do on this with the rigs, you know. But then I and the entire team got the training. An intensive training from the B&H and then the champion as well. And then we learned about the experience have gained from that training. We learned about the professional protocols, how to apply this to the work. So like by time I have that raised me a confidence as well in working with the team. And I believe that to welcoming Child Plus in December 10, our team will be ready for that. Because we have gained experience already.
But you know, I actually remember in the beginning, right, when COVID started, and you know, we had all these protocols and trainings. At least it helped me. You know, I brought that knowledge kind of back home to my family, to my friends, to my neighbors, right? So it sort of made me more confident. But would you say that's true for yourself?
Yes, couldn't agree with you. I apply this protocol to my daily life as well. Whenever I go out to the supermarket or seeing my family and friends, just to keep in mind so everyone is safe following the protocols.
Yeah, and you know, so weird, right? So here we sit with the face shield, right? But this is kind of part of our daily life now, where we can still talk. So I think that's a good thing. Hey, Karwan, I have one last question for you. Like, how important is tourism for you as a person in your life?
Okay. Firstly, I graduated from tourism and hotel management. And then I really love traveling. Like, since I was so young, you know, every year I explore and then I take my journey with my family every year from the home environment, and it's really made me feel like broaden my attitude, and then I can explore something new. For example, like culture, food, of course, because I love food so much. And then languages, for example. And I believe that everyone loves traveling as well. Do you?
I think so. I couldn't agree with you more, and I really miss it. In fact, I've been starting to travel again, mainly in Thailand, obviously, but I think for me it's super important, right? It's part of my life and yours, and I think many of our team members too, right?
Right, correct.
So, couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for having us, David and Bill. I hope it gave you a little bit insight. You know, our team and our hotel is a little bit of different situation, but we're going to be ready on December 10 to welcome everyone back. And Bill, I'm definitely waiting for you to try the Memphis-style barbecue smokehouse. So don't be a stranger. And thanks so much for having us, guys. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Killian, fantastic stuff. Thanks so much for your insights. Who have we got next?
We got rid of the suitcases. We're ready for a night out, right?
We're ready for a night out.
There's 1,000 stories in the naked city. This is just one of them with Rohit Sakdev. He's going to be talking about what it's like to be a restaurateur, right? It's got to be one of the hardest times in our lifetimes. Well, how do you cope?
Rohit, over to you.
Thanks, guys. Hi, I'm Rohit Sakdev, CEO and founder of Soho Hospitality. We're an interior design, F&B consulting, digital marketing agency, and lifestyle restaurant group based here in Bangkok. Glad to announce Bangkok is back, and so are we. Sipping a cocktail here at Charcoal Tandoor Grill here in Bangkok, one of our lifestyle restaurants, and glad to announce that on November 1st, the Thai government finally allowed alcohol to be sold at our restaurants again, and that's just great news for the overall industry. Our consumers and customers are back at our restaurants, and what's even greater is that the numbers that we've seen are greater than the expectations that we had. Our business is up almost 30 to 40% than what we expected. And it's just great news for the industry. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel as we head towards the end of the year. We still do have some challenges in terms of labor shortages and constraints. A lot of the restaurant and hotel labor force left Bangkok to go back to their provinces. And due to the unpredictability of the situation, many of this labor force have not returned back to Bangkok at a time in which hotels and restaurants are hiring again. A lot of that has to do with the regulatory environment. There's been a lot of flip-flopping from the government in terms of announcing regulations that can help us to better understand what would be the operating environment of our restaurants going forward. Currently, alcohol is only allowed to be sold until 9 p.m. Recently on Friday, the government announced that bars and nightclubs will not be opened until the end of the year. So there's a lot of constraints still faced by the restaurant industry, constraints that will impact the overall revenues that we can generate. We think that the New Year's celebration with bars and nightclubs being closed is also going to be quite tapered. And only when there is more predictability and security of the regulatory environment do we feel like the labor force will slowly return to Bangkok and bring some sense of normalcy into the environment. We also believe that there is an impact in terms of consumer spending power. The 30-40% increase that we're seeing is based on pent-up demand. We expect that to decrease and things to only get better towards the end of 2021, going into 2022. For 2022, we're not going to start the year as we expected due to some of these constraints and regulatory issues still impacting us, but we expect towards the middle to the end of the year, more tourists will come back to Thailand, and I think that'll be great for both the hospitality and the restaurant industry. For the restaurant business in itself, we expect that 2022 will bring a new wave of lifestyle restaurants. COVID accelerated the experience trend. COVID also dealt a fatal blow to some of the dying concepts. So we expect a lot more competition within the overall restaurant space, which means better concepts, more geared towards the millennial and Gen Z demographic. And lastly, food retail will change in a big way. We expect that malls will now take some of their retail footprint that were allocated towards fashion brands and use this footprint more towards F&B as consumers are opting to shop online and less going into stores. This will mean that there are going to be more restaurant brands and quick service brands opening within malls, and that is just great news for consumers as a whole. We expect that 2022 will be tapered. It's not going to be as we expected. There may be ups and downs in terms of the COVID pandemic. We need to realize that the COVID pandemic still exists here in Thailand. There is that still unpredictability of the infection as well as the regulatory environment. We're hoping that the tourism will come back, and definitely we're going to have a better year in 2022 than we did in 2020 or 2019. So great news overall, light at the end of the tunnel, and look forward to better news coming from the government going forward. Back to you guys.
Hey, David.
Hey, Bill. That's a wrap then.
That's a wrap? That's great. Exactly. Wrap and roll with that, right, David?
Right,
exactly.
right.
Big show today.
So where's next?
I want to go back to the future.
I want to go back to the future. But before we go back to the future, Rohit Sachdev, thank you so much for your insights. That was absolutely superb. Right, what's next?
Actually, we're going to talk a little about Thailand Tourism Forum. On the 24th of January, the country's biggest hospitality event is going to take place again at the Conrad Hotel. Registration is going to be open on the early December as well for that. Don't want to miss that. That's going to be in Bangkok as well. Even people can bring their backpacks.
Yeah, no, that's right. I believe so. And it's going to be featuring a special CEO's forum. So that's going to be fantastic.
So Bangkok,
really great insights.
See you again, and see you in the soys.
Thanks, Bangkok.
Hi, my name's Ashton. I'm a creative director here at Creative Concept AV, and I'd like to show you around our digital studio. So behind me, we've got a 4K LED wall. We've got studio lights up the top here, some ambient light columns, confidence monitor on the bottom, and a 4K camera. If you come with me this way, I'll show you what's actually behind the studio. So over here, we've got Toto manning the actual stream that goes out to the internet. We've got Andrew on our video switcher, and we have Piwat on our 16-channel digital mixer to handle all the microphone and sound inputs. This is the type of studio that we use for our online events, and we actually set it up in a single day here at Sai Laguna Phuket. It's a 5-star beach resort, so at the end of the day, you could walk out the door and jump straight into a swimming pool if you wanted to. We have a sister studio in the Grand Hyatt Bali, which is a green screen studio. And for events that we've done, we've actually built studios around the region to be able to support the kind of online events that we do. That's just a little bit of insight of what we do. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, Creative Concept AV, give us a call and maybe we'll do your next event. Thanks very much.